Welcome to Building the Future, hosted by Kevin Horick. With millions of listeners a month, Building the Future has quickly become one of the fastest rising programs, with a focus on interviewing startups, entrepreneurs, investors, CEOs, and more. The radio and TV show airs in 15 markets across the globe, including Silicon Valley. For full showtimes, past episodes, or to sponsor the show, please visit buildingthefutureshow.com.
Welcome back to the show. Today we have Daniel Nissan. He's the founder and CEO at StructuredWeb. Daniel, welcome to the show.
Hi, Kevin. Thank you for having me on the show today.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on the show. You've done a phenomenal amount of stuff before even StructuredWeb. So how about before we get into what you're doing today, let's get to know you a little bit better and start off with kind of where you grew up.
Yeah, I was born in Israel and grew up there
Cool.
in a small town in the desert near the Dead Sea, which I believe maybe people will know
Right.
that part. It's in the Negev, a
Cool.
very dry area, not much rain, but you get snow from time to time.
Okay, interesting. So walk us through your did you go to university? And if you did, what did you take and why?
No, actually, I went to, like every Israeli at the age of 18, I joined the army. I
Okay.
joined the Air Force, went through pilot training
Oh,
initially, didn't finish
cool.
that training, and later on moved to the intelligence forces of the Israeli Air Force. So it was a kind of a combat intelligence unit with a field unit that did different missions to gather intelligence.
Interesting.
So I spent about 6 years in the army, went through officer academy, and went back to that unit and learned a lot about army planning, intelligence gathering, and processing. And at some point, got my access to a PC that started to pop up in the army, an IBM original computer, and got excited to explore what else you can do with that. And from that was part of a path that I started much at earlier age to explore computers and find how to use them in business or in army operation or otherwise.
Okay, so what made you want to go into the Army and the Air Force, and what got you passionate about technology at an early age?
So it's a mandatory. So you have to go at the age of
Okay.
18, you have to go, you have a mandatory 3-year service,
Okay.
and you go through different evaluation. They choose you, don't choose. So I went through different tests and evaluation, and they accepted me to the Air Force Academy at the beginning.
Interesting.
At the early age, I don't know, I got a very small Sinclair computer when I was, I think, 14 years old, 15 years old. And after that, an Atari and Commodore. And I don't know, that technology from the first time I put my hands on a keyboard got me fascinated. I always want to think, what do you do with that? I was less interested in hardware, always software, and always what can I do with that? If it will be a games or business application, or later in the army, developing a system to manage a database of targets and manage them on a map. I was in a small field unit and used to visit a lot the headquarters, and they have those fancy maps that you see on movies on big screens, and we were still pointing pins on paper maps. And I said, I want something like that. And we figure out how to take a personal computer and turn it to be a target management system at the price that was probably 1% of what they spend on those headquarters systems.
Wow. That's cool. Interesting. Okay. So walk us through the rest of your career, maybe some highlights along the way up until StructuredWeb, because you've done some astronomical stuff before StructuredWeb as well.
Thank you. Yeah, so after my army service, I started my first startup with a friend, and was mostly focused on building a software for business operation in
Okay.
the Israeli market. At that time, Israel was maybe 4 or 5 million people a country. Today, they're reaching close to 10 million people. So we sold to a specific vertical market, and I said, a year and a half later, we had the entire market share.
Wow.
So we said, okay, what's next? What do we do? It wasn't a big market; it was a tiny market, but we almost got everybody we could sell the software to that time. So we looked around and said, look, we have to go outside to build this software company that will create a product in English to the American market. And luckily, we had access to a card that was then being developed by Intel to enable you to send faxes right from computers. To do, write the document on your computer and then click, connect the fax card to a phone line, and then you can send faxes to people right from the system. And we said, it will be nice if you take that, combine it with a letter, combine it with a database of fax numbers and people, and you could do a mass blasting of faxes personalized to people with their information. So we built that product called Perfaction.
Okay.
The Intel card calls Satisfaction, FAX in the middle. So we thought it would be nice, and we had an OEM deal. Intel included that product in their product and sold to market. And that was my first kind of US venture as well. And they came to market, tried to sell it, didn't work out. And a year later, I returned to Israel. Then later on, I came across another company that knew me from my doing the prior company, and they offered me to join. It was a group of 5 engineers, a company called Vocaltech, and they developed a technology to run voice over local area networks. And when I joined them, I said, this is nice, very interesting. But what about if we take it and put it on this something emerging called internet? I'm talking about early 1993. And I had the luck before I joined them, I just got a call from a friend of mine that was a professor in Weizmann Institute in Israel, and he introduced me to the internet and to the first web browser, and that was fascinating. So I did kind of 1 + 1. I said, if we take that voice technology, put it on the internet, and I see a reason, I see value people, right? You can talk to anybody around the world and don't spend between $1 to $5 per minute. It was a challenge because technology was not at the level you could run it, bandwidth, compression on computers, CPU power. So the idea became kind of, we had a product that could let you run voice over a local area network in late 93. And it took us about 2 years to come with a product that enable you to run voice over the internet. For people that don't know that, back then you run internet connection over modem connection with a very narrow bandwidth, like 14.4 or 28.8 bits per second.
Interesting. So, keep going. Sorry.
So we launched that. That was a big success. A lot of innovation, and we had an internet product, so we had to sell it. So there, I developed the first e-commerce application to sell software over the internet. And we sold close to $10 million worth of software in 1 year.
Wow.
Also, we had to advertise, so we did a lot of advertising, build affiliate marketing. We didn't call it that name, right? But we went to different websites and said, hey, put our banner on your website, click to our website, and if somebody buy, we'll pay you 20% commission of the transaction, right? And we did online advertising with mostly website because there was no advertising infrastructure, and successfully took the company public in 1996. And it was the second ever internet IPO after Netscape. So Netscape was the first and Vocaltech was the second.
Fascinating. That's cool, man. Very cool. Yeah. Okay, keep going.
After that, I was approached by somebody that came from the consumer packaged good industry, kind of groceries, and said, "Yeah, I have an idea. Let's sell groceries online. You understand the e-commerce. You build this platform. Join me." So I joined him, and we founded the Net Grocer. That was the first online grocery supermarket online, and that was focusing mostly on dry goods. So the idea there wasn't to replicate a supermarket, was kind of a combination between a supermarket and a club store, like Sam's Club or Costco. Gotcha. So, but the items was the regular items you find in supermarkets. So we didn't ask people to buy those bulk items, to invest a lot in inventory, but more efficient, reducing the cost of the fulfillment, reducing the cost of storage, and driving value through online commerce. We were selling groceries at about, I would say, about 25% below supermarket prices. And we had a deal with FedEx, so which was interesting. I went to Memphis, met with Fred Smith, and convinced him to join us as a strategic partner and to deliver groceries. And he told me, look, you're sitting on a chair that actually Sam Walton sat on, Sam Walton from Walmart. And I told Sam Walton, he told me, Fred Smith, that one day FedEx will deliver groceries because we need the volume of delivery on a daily basis to residential in order to justify all the infrastructure we build to deliver gifts during the holidays.
Right.
Mind you, that was the early days of e-commerce, so the volume of e-commerce deliveries in general were still small, and companies like FedEx and UPS and others were looking for a way to drive the volume and justify the whole infrastructure, cost of drivers, and so on when they deliver to residential, because it was much less profitable, or most of the time not profitable, to deliver to residential areas compared to businesses.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah, so did that and for a few years, and then we tried to take the company public. There was a financial crisis in 1990, late 1998. The IPO didn't succeed. I left the company and then started StructuredWeb. And the idea of StructuredWeb was kind of cumulative of my experience of the internet, from building website, doing marketing, dealing with the technology, understand the opportunity, understand how fast it keeps moving, but also understand the challenges of a small business or an emerging business to build their online presence. So the StructuredWeb idea was at the beginning to build a vertical market solution. So we build a platform, and within that platform, we can build different solutions for different industries and create StructuredWeb. So if you're in a specific industry that we target, our first industry was chiropractors, we'll give you a ready-made website, not a tool to build a website, not a service to create a custom website, not a do-it-yourself website, but you go in, you put your name, your logo, opening hours, and some additional information, click save. 10 minutes later, you have a fully functional website with all the content, all the information that you can imagine that you'll need to run a website for chiropractors, right? And the idea was that chiropractors are local businesses. They don't care if somebody in 5, 10, 20 miles from there running something very similar. The application enables them to do a nice degree of customization, so you can differentiate yourself from the other, but you can get it at a low cost, $50 a month. That was the cost for the service, and 10 minutes of work and you're up and running. And we kept it up to date, so new content, new technologies, as things continue to emerge. The idea was that we'll keep that tech stack for your website and web presence, from appointment scheduling to other features and capabilities. If we would have continued to serve the market, maybe patient records and test results for other industries, the idea was to add more technology and more capabilities to that core structured website as the technology continue and evolve and emerge over the coming years. But we tried chiropractors, and at that time, 2001, we launched the first product, and we didn't get much interest from the market. People would say, $50 is a lot of money. Why do I need a website? I don't need it. I don't have an internet connection. I cannot even see your demo. So we were looking for other industry that we said will be more proactive selling online, but we wanted also to stay in the B2C space, and we picked up the travel industry. So we built a vertical product for travel agents. It was a combination of, again, website with product catalogs. We went to different travel suppliers, mostly on travel packages, resort, cruises, and others, not just airlines and hotels, things that more common to travel agents to sell to their customers. And we built for a travel agent to come to StructuredWeb, build in 10 minutes a website with your information, with different packages that you offer, because we had connection to a lot of the travel suppliers. And then build an email marketing system on top of that, so you can market your practice, go to market, and reach customers and drive demand for travel services.
Interesting.
All good, but one problem: we launched the product on September 9th, 2001.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So 2 days after that, we didn't have a market.
Right. Okay.
But we had a platform, and the platform was horizontal, so we could craft from it another product. And we virtually looked around. No, not virtually, actually looked around, and across the street was the offices of Panasonic. And my VP of sales at that time, and a guy by the name of Richard Jeremiah, said, "Look, I work in a telephony business. I worked at Dictaphone before. Let's go to Panasonic and tell them we'll build a structured website for their resellers. And we went to them and they said, great for us, something, we'll go and show it to the resellers. So we did that, and they liked it. They took it to the resellers, came back to us after a few weeks of roadshow and said, we want to buy it. And can you send us a proposal? We sent them a proposal, said, we'll send you a purchase order. Now, 20 years later, we're still waiting for that purchase order.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good advice, though.
Yeah.
I always say it's a nice idea until the check clears in my bank account.
I wait 7 days after that. That's the rule.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So they said, went to the channel partners and told them that they want to offer, and they told us the partner got excited. So he says, no, but if they got excited, why won't we try to sell it to them? We already had the product ready, right? We had a Panasonic reseller website ready with the catalog, with all the information, because we prepared everything for them for the roadshow. And the end of December 2001, I went to the website, scrapped the list of their channel partners, made phone calls. I think I made one day 100 phone calls, and I got 20 orders the end of that day.
Wow.
So look, 20% success rate, that's something that you don't usually come across, and that's what we did. So we went and called the resellers. I think a month later, we doubled the price. So we started selling it for $1,200 a year. After that, we doubled it. We sold it for $2,400 a year. So you get a Panasonic, a reseller's website with up-to-date Panasonic product catalog, and you can use it to present your business to potential customers and generate leads. And then everything was, after that, was done off the system, because at that time we didn't have CRM, lead management, and capabilities that we had later on. And we grew the business from that. So we went to other vendors, other resellers. That's where our company actually focused, which is our core business today, channel marketing. Started to focus more and more narrowly on channel, on resellers, dealers, agents, partners. And for about 10, 12 years, we sold directly to small businesses. And later on, about 6, 7 years ago, we turned the platform and added the vendor level and turned the business from selling to small businesses to sell to enterprises. So today, almost 100% of our revenue come from enterprises. And they take our platform, and instead of selling the services to their partners, which we used to do, we work with vendors. They take our platform, they customize it for their specific network of resellers on a global basis, and provide them the solution, which will be content for the website, email marketing, social marketing, online advertising, webinar, event, any type of web presence or digital marketing tool with the content built into the system that they can provide to their local resellers, so they can go and drive demand for the product they represent. So today it's an enterprise software, and we don't do services or marketing services anymore. And our customers are the top leading brands in the technology space. Everybody from Google to IBM, ServiceNow, and dozens of other large global tech companies that rely on our platform to support their channel partners in 52 different languages in countries all around the world.
Very cool, man. That's awesome. So just so I 100% understand, so if I'm one of these big brands, what do I need to put into StructuredWeb? And then as one of the big brand resellers, what do I get from StructuredWeb when I log in?
So as a big brand, you go to StructuredWeb and you can upload to the system any type of marketing content, marketing instructions, and support and training for your local resellers to use.
Okay.
So basic part, you can use our content syndication, which automatically with a simple setup will keep that brand product information presence on their channel partner, the reseller website, up to date. So the moment the reseller take a 2-line of JavaScript and put on their website, they will have the entire product catalog of the vendors up to date at any given moment on their website. And they can, of course, customize it. If they sell just portion of that vendor product catalog, they can customize it so they can just present subset of the entire catalog. And of course, all of that the vendor can put it in as many languages as they want based on the market and territories that they serve. So they can have everything. They put an email, they can put content to their partner's website. That will be content syndication. They can upload emails with landing pages for lead capture to our system. And then the reseller logs in, find that email. They have a library. They can browse those. They browse the content, find the one that fits for their market and their target industry and language, customize it with their logo, can customize the content. And there is a built-in email marketing system, so they can upload their mailing list and send emails, and that automatically will go to a landing page, capture leads, and they have the lead management system. So we give them the content and the technology combined together, already pre-configured. So they say, if you go back to the story where we started with the chiropractors, the idea was click a button, you're up and running in 10 minutes. Here, as a channel partner representing, let's say, Google or IBM or ServiceNow, you can log into the system, you log in through them. So we're selling it to our customers. It's fully private label. When you go to IBM, it says IBM. When you go to Google, it says Google, doesn't say StructuredWeb. You log into your Google relationship, to your Google Cloud Platform partner portal. You go to the marketing area, and from there you can run all these marketing activities, from banner advertising to webinar, events, email marketing, content syndication, social marketing, and it's all automated. So let's say if you want to keep your Google, your LinkedIn account up to date with Google posts about GCP, Google Cloud Platform solution and product, you just go to the channel marketing platform powered by StructuredWeb. You click subscribe, and every content that Google decide that you should post to your LinkedIn account will go automatically. Every week, the partner gets notification what is planned for them for next week. So they do have control of the process. And if they like it, they just do nothing and it will be posted to the LinkedIn account. Or if they don't like something or edit something, then they need to log into the system. So we're virtually kind of automating their local marketing with a degree of involvement, so they can configure it, they can change it, they can edit it, they can put their logo and others, but a lot of the process is fully automated because most channel partners are much smaller organization than the vendors, and they don't have that sophisticated marketing skills and dedicated person and dedicated system. And even if they do have, to take content from the vendor and configure it in your system, if it be a series of emails with landing pages and lead nurturing, all these steps are kind of complex operation, even if you have the knowledge. But most channel partners don't have a large dedicated marketing team, and that support of content, technology, and the entire process already pre-configured enable them to go and drive local business and grow their operation as well.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Well, even if you do have it internally, like the amount of time that it takes to manually do all this stuff is a ton of work. Like it's multiple people's full-time job in a week. Is that fair to say?
Yes, it's very complex, and if you want to go out and maybe hire an expert to do it for you, it
Yeah.
can cost tens of thousands of dollars every year to do that. And that's something that, as a channel partner, if your vendor works with StructuredWeb, you get at no cost. It's an entitlement as part of being a channel partner. So we save
Gotcha.
businesses a lot of money and enable those small businesses around the world really to go and embrace and use the digital marketing, but without the complexity and challenges that typically you face with if you try to do it on your own. And we see great demand for that. We have more and more customers using it and providing it, especially in the last 2 years, where before the pandemic, digital marketing was about 50% of the spend of channel partners on marketing. They used to do a lot of events and local activities and breakfast and seminars. Because the pandemic, this all went away, so they had to turn all their marketing 100% to digital marketing, and we see big increase in demand for channel marketing solutions in the last 2 years because of that.
No, that makes a lot of sense. So I'm curious, do I get, well, I'm assuming that as the enterprise company and the reseller, I get kind of stats and updates about how well things are doing or not doing in my local area, so I can kind of modify or change to say, like, you know what, our Instagram feed is working well or it's not working well. Maybe we should do more or less of those different verticals, or how does that kind of work?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, and actually part of the core of the offering of StructuredWeb is all the analytics. So we do
Okay.
provide the channel partners with the analytics typical that you'll expect from a small business marketing automation system. So if you send an email, you can see how many people open it, click rate, lead rate. If you share something on social, you can see the engagement level, clicks on the content, if there are any links in the content, and so on. But most channel partners don't have time, resources to look at the data, and also they have very small sample of data because just their own local marketing. So the strength of the analytics and data comes more to the vendor side. They have visibility of everything in the process. From the moment they upload content, they can see what content they themselves upload, because there could be many people in the organization uploading content. They
Right.
can see the engagement of the partners. They can see if partners actually go and look at this content. Do they activate the content? And then if they activate the content, depend on the channel, email, social, website content syndication, and so on, they can see the engagement level, impression, number of clicks, number of leads, and can analyze it also by a country, by region, globally, by product, by type of business, by messaging, because we collect the data across all the partners, right? Without
Yep.
disclosing any partner's customers' personal information. So the vendor never have access to the partner customer list. It's kept confidential, but they get aggregated reports that they can analyze. And because of the volume of data, they get much better data to run statistics and understand what message works and what messages don't work, and tactics and combination of them at a global scale.
Got you. Okay. And then you guys have a whole services arm side of this business. Do you want to talk about what that means and what services you actually provide your customers?
Most of our services are surrounding the implementation of the product.
Okay.
So it's provide, because it's an enterprise product, it provide high degree of customization. So as we said, if you're Google or IBM or ServiceNow, you can customize the product to the pixel perfect to match your brand, your go-to-market strategy. You can customize it to different languages, different territories, even create a lot of variation to support different type of channel partners, right? If you sell to distributors, you might need a different experience than if you sell to local system integrators, or you have other software companies that embed your product into their product. They need typically different type of marketing support. So we help our customers with the customization of the product, the best practice to implement it, training and support. But when it comes to the actual marketing work, we're not a marketing agency. So we're a
Right.
software company. We focus on the software and delivering the best software. When it comes to the marketing, to the messaging, creative, look and feel, the translation of that, there are interfaces where other agencies can be integrated to the system to support the vendors and to support the channel partners. So we serve as the hub for all these different parties to collaborate, but we don't provide or facilitate these services.
Got it. Okay. No, that makes sense. So how long roughly does it take to onboard one of these brands and then I can start actually using this and giving the platform out to my resellers?
The typical process takes us about, let's say, 90 days.
Okay.
But we recently onboarded a customer, and they went with that public, and also shared that. So I can share, we onboarded Zoom. Zoom is one of
Right.
the StructuredWeb customer, and they had a target day to launch, and we launched them in 30 days.
Okay.
So
Okay. So
it's possible
pretty
to move
fast.
faster, but typically 90 days is the typical integration and launch time.
Got you. No, that makes a lot of sense. So I'm curious because you guys, well, you've had structured web for what, 20 plus years now. How have you made the company relevant and stay relevant and change with the times? Because it's challenging enough to get through, a couple of years, a recession, all the different changes that have come with the web. But how have you made sure you've stayed current and pivoted and changed the product to stay with the times? Because that in itself is extremely difficult.
Yeah, it is. And we did two things. First, focus on what's currently is in demand in the market. We build a company with focusing on selling and generating revenue, and most of the years investing that revenue back into the product. So we're a very product driven company,
Okay.
and we kept adjusting and pivoting when needed. But the story, it's the same story. If you look at where we started, structured website for similar businesses. So today it's not just
Right.
structured website, structured marketing for similar businesses. The go-to market is different. the service offering is different, but the core focus of the company, when we pivoted, we didn't change on 90 degrees or to the right or to the left, right? We did small pivots, 5 degrees here and 5 degrees there, but we always when you ski, you keep your face focusing downhill, right? While
Right.
you go on the slopes, left and right. We did virtually the same, right? Stay focused on the target, but you have to change, otherwise you'll crush.
Right. Interesting. No,
Yeah,
that's actually
yeah.
really good advice. I'm curious, because you've obviously done this for so long, is how have you stuck true to your roadmap, especially when you have huge customers probably saying, like, we really want you to add X, Y, and Z. And I know you mentioned some customization. So how do you manage your roadmap, their customizations, and kind of their feature requests, whether they make sense for the other two?
Mhm. One major principle that we kept all the years from day one, and
Okay.
mind you, we started to build SaaS, software as a service application, in 1999, when nobody even thought about it, or it was very common. There were no common practices. We made decision back then to have one platform, right? So never unique version or code to specific customers,
Okay.
and multi-tenant. So it's a one instance of the application running for all the customers with the proper security in place. So
Got you.
even to date, if somebody asks us to add some capabilities to the system, if we need to do customization, it will always be a code and functionality that will be available to all of our customers, right? So we don't have
Got you.
5 versions of the product. We have one single version of the product. And if we need to customize it, will be always through configuration. We don't write custom code. So keeping
Got
the
it.
operation very efficient and keep those principles as a guidance way to build the product and not deviate from that. That was very important. And the other one is just listen to the customer. We just listen to what they need and we keep adjusting, adding more capabilities, changing the features, um, improving things, but the customers know what they want. If you listen to them, and that's the biggest asset. As a startup, the biggest problem is you think about something, but you don't have customers. As a company already in market, a year or two, even 3 years, you don't have to have 10 or 20 years. But even if, after the handful of customers that you brought up on board, just if you listen to them, they guide you where to go. And if you listen carefully, you'll find all these nuances that will make the product better, the service better, and help you to be successful. And that's even up to date. That's what we do. I'm the CEO of the company, but I spend a lot of my time on the product. I believe that the best product eventually win in market, and that's what we do. We're very product-driven company and not sales or marketing-driven company.
Got you. No, that's actually really good advice. So I want to get some other advice from you, because obviously you've built a number of businesses, some new vertical businesses, and you've obviously, like we just covered, is you've been able to pivot your businesses to stay relevant. What advice do you give people in building these businesses? Because we all know you have highs and lows and a roller coaster
Mhm.
ride and all the fun stuff that
Yep.
and bad stuff that can come. So what advice do you give to people to kind of get through some of the hard times?
I would say first you have to be passionate about what you do. And
Okay.
if I would say always I'm lucky in my life that I do something that I love. It doesn't say
Sure.
that every day is a great day, and there are no, as you said, the ups and downs. But I have the luxury to do something that I love: build product, build services, deal with technology, and that's really what drives me every day, right? When I get excited, it's about product, about code, it's about new technology, if it's AI or machine learning or otherwise. And that's what I think what's so fascinating about the technology industry, and how I kept myself very focused about the business, because this business, the technology, what we do, the product, the customers, where it was 22 years ago, it's quite different than where it is today. So I'd say to a new entrepreneur, first, no, understand what you're getting into. It's not an easy process at all. You need to be fully devoted to that. Invest 24 hours of your day, right? So very little amount of sleep, and 7 days a week, right? So it's a constant business. You never get a break. You never take a vacation. Maybe physically you might take a vacation, but I don't think mentally I took a vacation the last 22 years, or since I started to work in startups. and there are going to be a lot of challenges down the road. There are more challenges than upsides, and you have to play them and find a way to bypass those challenges and innovate product, innovate marketing strategies, innovate partnerships. Through the years, that was the number one driver to my progress, was that no, you face a challenge, you find a solution. And to be honest, that's something I learned in the army. You go out to a mission, you do a lot of planning, a lot of preparation, but when you're in the field, that's it. You have fixed number of resources, you have fixed number of people with you, and you need to get mission accomplished. Now, the training that I got in the army, you don't come back without mission accomplished. So figure out how, and you learn how to figure out, and you find very interesting and surprising way to accomplish the mission, be it business wise, military wise, or in personal life.
No, I think that's really good advice. Is there stuff that you wish you knew that you would like to pass on to, say, your younger self?
Yes, there's one thing when people ask me this question that I always like to bring up. When I set to build my first company and want to raise capital, people ask me, "Do you have a business plan?" Back then, I didn't know how to write a business plan, so I went and bought a book, How to Write a Business Plan, and went chapter by chapter. And they go, "No, what is the product? What is the market opportunity? Customers, competition?" And you go through all these chapters, and you read them, you write because you understand what you do. And then I go to a chapter that was quite interesting. I'm talking about my first startup was in the early 90s. It's called Environmental Effects.
Okay.
And I'm talking about the environment. It says, no, how the weather can affect my business. I didn't understand at that time that environmental effects, and probably there were not enough examples in the book. It's all about the things that you don't control in life, right?
Right.
So we're talking about new technology emerging, like the internet. That's environmental effect. Now we had a company that did A, and suddenly there's a new technology that's affecting you in a positive way. September 11th was a big, shock to the organization that's affecting you. Environmental effect that is negative to the organization. So when typically you sit and build a business plan and you decide what you want to do, you and your team, I think most of us are focused on what we can do, and we trust ourselves, and we know the skills, we know the weaknesses that we have, and we pay very little attention to what's going out in the surrounding of our core business. And the surrounding has very significant effect, both positive, in many cases positive. If you look at if you take Airbnb, and they started a time where iPhone came to market and Facebook came to market, and if you try to do Airbnb 5 or 6 years there, it would not be as successful as it was, right? So
Right.
those are positive environmental effects that create for you opportunities, create for you new platform, new technologies, new way to reach customers, and also disaster situation like September 11th, or not to that degree, recession that we had later on, the housing crisis in 2008. All of those have significant effects on the business, and I suggest to people pay attention to them and look for opportunities and be prepared for threats like the pandemic or the housing crisis or something similar to that.
So does that mean then that you're constantly reading the news or kind of other publications to make sure you're up on current events so you can predict the future as much as possible? Or what is your advice around that?
I read everything. My wife make a joke of me that I'm probably the only person in the universe that read the stories on the milk books.
Okay.
Yeah, so I read the news. I try to stay up to date from politics to healthcare to technology, right? But the key part is to read, but also to react. Now, some things sometimes you see them and you know how to react. Sometimes there's a situation that will take you 3 or 4 years after they happen that you can react to them. So it's not everything that you read you get it, but I would say pay attention not just for the internal core of your business, which all of us do, and we focus about ourselves, about the business, about the employees, about the customers. But a lot of what's going on is outside, and that could represent, I think in most cases, by the way, an opportunity more than a threat. And being able to read the map and see where the industry is going, to talk to customers, to look at new platform, and not to be too much focused just on your business and your industry, can represent an opportunity for you to find new ways to grow the business and you create a new distribution channel. I'll give you an example. When we started with VocalTech, we sold the software online, and we want to enter to retail. And to get to retail back then, to put your product packaged a software product on the shelf was a lot of money. You have to show that you have huge budget to create consumer demand. And we tried and we couldn't. So one day I went to Comdex and I walked there and there was a booth, beautiful booth, white booth, very, very unique. It looked very different than any other software company booth. And I went in and said, "What do you do?" It says, "Oh, we're a book publisher." So why are you here? It's a software trade show. They look, we created this book called the AOL Membership Guide, and we want to sell it in bookstores, but no bookstore will take our book and put it because they just sell packaged software. So we went to AOL, America Online back then, and asked them if we can sell their software. Back then, AOL was sending millions of their software by mail every day to subscribe to gain their subscribers. So these guys from Tana Communication, they did that. They put a book, they took the software from AOL and actually paid a percentage of every book that they sold, looked like a software in a box. And that was a huge success. So I said, you know what? We have this internet fund here and we're trying to get to retail. Would you take the software, put it in a box, write a book about it, and maybe we put also software to connect people to the internet, because at that time, most people were not connected to the internet. And they did it. And 3 months later, we were on every retail store in the country selling our product without investing anything, building that infrastructure ourselves.
No, that's actually really smart and really actually good advice for people, because sometimes you need to partner with somebody that has the resources to get to where you want to be, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And it can be a distribution channel, a new product innovation, or a threat like the pandemic. But actually I saw a lot of companies that took the pandemic, turned them over, and created opportunities, especially companies that were focused like Zoom on online meetings, webinar, events, online educations. I know some companies that were like Visible, another Israeli company, that they were all focused, all the business, 100% of the business was on physical events. And I believe like 30 or 60 days after the pandemic hit, they turned the product over and turned it to be a great product for virtual events. It's not easy. It's quite complex to turn the entire business, but they saw an opportunity. And I don't know them personally, but from the stories that I hear, they're doing very well because they turned their business. Now they're both in virtual and physical events and growing their business quite nicely.
No, I think that's actually really good advice. And you're right. Like, I think one of the pluses of the pandemic, and I don't think there's very many of them, was it really made people kind of reinvent themselves. And in a lot of cases, it really brought out like the true entrepreneurs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when there's not a lot of things that are worse than a pandemic to try to get your business through, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and some businesses, look, you cannot change them. Like if you're in the travel industry or hospitality, you have very little room to innovate and create. You probably, I'm really sorry for a lot of these people, but they probably had to go and create a completely new business. But a lot of other businesses, even restaurants, where I saw a lot of restaurants changing the way they operate. They moved more to delivery and they repackaged the product. They changed the menu so they could fit better for delivery. So you always have to be agile. You have to change and adapt to the market situation. And I'm not talking about the crisis where your business is completely finished and there is no market, but other than that, you adjust or you don't survive.
No, I think that's really good advice. But sadly, we're coming to the end of the show. So how about we close with mentioning where people can get more information about yourself, StructuredWeb, and any other links you want to mention?
About myself, the easiest way to get in touch with me or find me would be through my LinkedIn page. Just look for Daniel Nissan on LinkedIn, and StructuredWeb, you can check www.structuredweb.com to find more information. And if you have any business in the channel, your channel partner or vendor selling to channel partners, would love talking to you.
Perfect, Daniel. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to be on the show, and I look forward to keeping in touch with you and have a good rest of your day, man.
Thank you very much, Kevin. I appreciate the invite and was pleasure having this conversation today.
You as well. Thanks very much. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Please visit our website at buildingthefutureshow.com to join the free community, sign up for our newsletter, or to sponsor the show. The music is done by Electric Mantra. You can check him out at electricmantra.com and keep building the future.